Good morning and welcome to Evion Group's quarterly webinar, where Managing Director David Round will review the September quarterly, but also discuss some of the milestone achievements that were achieved during the quarter. Mr. Round will be providing a short PowerPoint presentation. You'll be able to ask questions throughout the presentation. They'll be recorded in the webinar and attended to at the conclusion of the presentation, where participants' questions will be asked and answered. So without further ado, I'll bring on Managing Director David Round to walk through the September quarterly.
Thanks, Gareth. And look, thanks for everyone attending today. It's been a big period for us at Evion. We've culminated the end of the last sort of couple of months with some exciting news last week. So I'll quickly flip over obviously our disclaimer page, and just to refresh for people not completely familiar with the Evion story, we've got our flagship project is the Minérey Graphite project in Madagascar. It's accredited by the EU, recognised by the EU as the preferred supplier of graphite into the EU out of Africa. We're the only project outside of Europe that's been recognised by the EU as their preferred supplier. So that's a wonderful achievement for the company. It's a testament to the quality of the product that we have and the quality of the DFS that we produced. Apart from that, we have an expandable graphite project operating in India, which was several years in the making. Started production about 6-7 months ago now. It's ramping up to full levels of production. Expandable graphite, and I'll come to some of the detail on that in a little while, but it's a product that's produced extensively and mainly out of China up until recently. So we're filling the gap, that massive gap in the world's demand for expandable graphite, which has a multitude of applications, and I'll walk through some of that shortly. We've also, over the last few years, produced a scoping study regarding a battery anode material project in Europe. The scoping study results were incredibly positive. We put together a plan for a project in Germany, west of Berlin, in the Bitterfeld area. We're the first Australian company, graphite company, looking in that region. We've got strong relationships there. The EU have been very supportive of us progressing that scoping study to the DFS. So I guess it's a little summary about where we see our product being sold over the many years. We're our own off-taker to a certain degree with our expandable graphite plant in India. So some of the material will go from our Madagascar operations into our expandable graphite plant. The rest of it will go into Europe, potentially our own PSG plant. And obviously, there are a range of other buyers globally which are very interested in our project. I guess more importantly and excitingly, over the last period, having the EU recognition for us as having one of the world's best undeveloped graphite project, and we hope to commence development very shortly. It's put us on the global stage, which was wonderful. So we had some conversations over the last few months with a very experienced and incredibly impressive group of people at Atlas Assets. We've talked with them for a long time. They've got some very big aspirations for our company, which we're really excited about. So in summary, a little bit about Atlas. They're a very experienced team with extensive links to US government and commerce. A number of people on their board and management team have extensive commercial and military experience. Our board's met with them a number of times. I've probably had 100 conversations with them over the last few months. Very experienced group of people. They're working with us around potential offtake agreements in the short term into the US. So this is just expanding our market, and people often ask me, well, you've got a great relationship and demand out of the EU. And my response is, well, we have a large enough mine that will have significant enough material that can be sold into Europe and the US. And our US partners are very supportive of that approach. We're also working with our team, our colleagues at Atlas around funding for the US operations, and also around project development and licensing in Madagascar. The US has a very, very significant base in Madagascar, which is something a lot of people aren't aware of. It's very significant as far as trade goes, defence support, and other relationships in Africa and Madagascar. So we're absolutely delighted to have them part of the team going forward. I guess going into and focusing on our expandable graphite operation. Look, we are the only ASX listed company answering the world's demand for expandable graphite. There is a massive amount of demand in the US, Europe, Japan, outside of China. We're fitting that demand. This is a small photo there of our operation taken just before we commenced, so it's obviously developed a little bit more since then. Expandable graphite is a complex product to produce in some respects. You need the right IP, the right material partners. You also need the right market to sell to. You need to have a very deep understanding of the demand and market for expandable graphite, and we have that. We are selling into Europe, as people know. We've sold material into the US. Those markets are expanding. We have some really exciting inquiries, which I've alluded to previously, for demand out of Japan, even Taiwan, and other parts of the world. Hence, that's a really exciting opportunity for us. Our expansion of our expandable graphite business is something we're exploring in the short term. We know we can expand rapidly. We've set everything in place in India around our expansion now to 4,000 to 4,500 tonne per annum. We're ready to almost flick the switch on that expansion program, which is fairly heavily advanced. That would give us a significant increase in revenue, JV revenue, and our aspirations, obviously, over the next few years are to further expand that and generate much higher levels of revenue with demand we expect. Now, I must also comment that whilst we've got a great opportunity to expand our operations to stage 3 revenue levels and production levels in India up to around 10,000 tonne, we are exploring with our JV partners the opportunity to look at other global operations. That's something I think will fall out in the short term. We now have some strategic advantages to having an operation globally and in the US. There'll be further information around that over the short terms. Expandable graphite, a little bit about its production process. As I've mentioned, our wonderful JV partners in India have been producing the material for over 50, 60 years. They own the IP. We have a strong JV relationship and agreement with them. There's a little bit of detail around the production process. There's no production of expandable graphite at a commercial level in Australia. We don't hold the IP. No other Australian companies, to my understanding, have access to the IP that Evion does. Material is used extensively for the growth of the new world, if you like, military applications, space satellite development. The world needs expandable graphite for a range of developments and potentially in the applications that I've outlined there a little bit. Around it, the other benefits, the strengths and benefits of expandable graphite, it has incredibly strong, it's just incredibly strong material, around up to 20 times stronger than steel, incredibly lightweight. It has infrared shielding capacity and radar absorption, so it can effectively absorb and emit radar uses around for any material coated and any assets that are coated in expandable graphite and like-made materials. So consequently, its use is really in strong demand in the defence applications. And here's a little bit of detail about the use of defence applications for expandable graphite. The big manufacturers of defence material in the US and other parts of the world are big buyers now of expandable graphite. We're proud to be suppliers. Our relationship with Atlas Assets, we believe, is going to expand and open up massive new markets for us. It's a little known material that's been getting a lot of spotlight at the moment, and Evion, with being the only producer out of Australia, we're well positioned to be into that market well ahead, years ahead of anyone else. As I mentioned a little bit about India, we'll have an update on our results over the last few months, but I expect our December results for 2025 to be our strongest by a long way. We've really got up to our full capacity of production. Everything's going well in India. We've had new buyers and other people visit over the last week from Europe, who, again, like some of our buyers from Germany and US, have over the last 6 months, have all walked away saying this is the best plant globally, and they've seen them all, and we're very proud of that. It's a highly automated process, highly more automated system. We've reduced the number of staff we have on operation to about 15 people. India's a very, very cost-effective environment, great energy costs and logistics, so we're right at the bottom of the cost curve in relation to production costs. Look, a little bit of detail about our PGT operations there. We've built this operation with our wonderful JV partners to world-class ESG standards. We're in a special economic zone adjacent to transport. The special economic zone provides us with access to really affordable labour and power and water, so it's a great opportunity for us. It's working well. Our margins and profit there are exactly as we expected to budget, and we're pleased about that. That's a little bit about our PGT team. Myself and our Group Financial Controller, Kay and Lim, represent Evion on the board. Jayant Power and Jonas Power, very experienced part of the Medichem Group, a conglomerate of companies in India. They represent Medichem, our JV partner on the PGT board. Jayant Power is our chairman, very well credentialed businessman in the Pune-Mumbai region, very well known, educated, I believe, in US, UK and Germany over many years. Lovely guy to work with. We've got a great business relationship, very supportive of our growth and development plans. And I'll be over in India in about 2 weeks' time with some people visiting site again. I've touched on our board before. We re-established our board at Evion around 18 months ago. We've got a fantastic, experienced board, well positioning the company for growth and development over the short term. We've done a lot of good things over the last 6 months in particular. Madagascar's stabilised now. I mentioned in an interview yesterday that the opportunity now for Madagascar is real and live. The new government and the new ministers involved are well known to us. We've got a direct line to the president and the new mines minister, who is very well known to us. I expect to be in Madagascar, as I've mentioned, pretty soon to catch up with, meet the president and meet new mines minister. We're very confident around licensing being concluded and issued in the short term. I guess I hope I've outlined some of the compelling stories around the reason to invest in Evion. We're one of the few companies at a pre-production stage in Mannery that's generating a fair bit of revenue now out of our expandable graphite plant in India, which, as I've alluded to a few times, we're really looking to take globally in the short term. That's going to provide a significant revenue stream to the business over the short, medium term. The beauty of that also, it opens up networks to us everywhere for our graphite concentrate that is produced from Madagascar. We've got a very strong network that we keep pretty close to our chest in the graphite space globally. We deal with the best buyers, the best consumers of our material. We're well known in the industry. I've had 10 years experience in the graphite sector, working specifically out of Madagascar. I like to think myself and the board have got a very experienced network globally in the sector. We're well positioned for growth. That's a little bit about us, and thank you very much for your time, and thanks, Gareth.
That's great. Thank you for that, David. we've received a number of questions through the week and during the webinar. I think I'm confident to say that many of those questions have been answered with that insightful presentation. If I may, I just ask one question. I consider the Atlas, the Atlas agreement as quite milestone. How did that relationship come about? If you can talk to that.
Yeah, I can. We were first contacted. Actually, some people, some of our advisors in Europe, of all places, connected us with the Atlas team. Obviously, there's a lot of coordinated activity between the EU and US around critical minerals, etc., etc. So I was connected from people in Europe a couple of months ago now.
Okay. And this sort of there's one question received by a participant that sort of speaks to the part of the presentation that talked to its expandable graphite. What's your sense or view on market prices of the graphite products that Evion will be producing going forward or have been producing?
Yeah, look, I think I like to think, Gareth, that I'm in a unique position because I'm buying graphite concentrate globally at the moment to feed our operation in India. So I've got a really good feel for the concentrate pricing coming out of every part of the world: Brazil, Madagascar, Tanzania, other parts of the world as well, China, obviously, and expandable graphite. Look, I've seen the expandable graphite prices increase between 20 and 30% this year, along with some of the graphite concentrate prices have also increased about 20% over this calendar year. I think you'll see that represented in some of the benchmark reporting and fast markets reporting over the next few months. It's a consequence of the shutdown in operations, or should I say shutdown in exports of material outside of China to the rest of the world.
And I suppose the second part of that question is, how significant have the recent on-off, China export restrictions and Trump tariffs had or will have on the future graphite prices?
Well, I like to think I'm not sure things are going to change around those export controls, Gareth. If anything, these restrictions on exports create new markets, and new markets then are established, and they're hard to break down again. So we're well positioned to establish, to further grow into our established markets. We've already got markets with our expandable graphite material. I like to think that we'll have an ongoing long supply of concentrate and expandable graphite over the next 20, 30 years going forward.
And obviously, Mannery starts to come into play and part of your vertical integration strategy. That's probably worth dwelling on for now. What's the timeline for sort of production there, do you think?
Yeah, look, we're very, very keen to get in development and production in the short term. Obviously, our partners, our supporters in Europe want us to as well. And to that extent, I'm going to be in Brussels in about 2 to 3 weeks' time, meeting with the EU representatives that I've spoken with at length over the last 3 months. There've been a lot of meetings held in preparation for these. Been a lot of Teams meetings held over the last few months in preparation for these face-to-face meetings coming up. And they're very keen to get us progressed on things. In preparation for all that, the EU have already started rolling out grant program for us, because they understand that we need to recruit a lot of people. We need to there's a certain level of pre-production costs, a lot of training required for local people. So we're doing that in advance. And we've secured grant funding of up to around €3 million, which is a very significant amount of money, about 5 million Aussie, which is going to be dedicated to recruitment, training, and initial costs over the next 3-4 months. That should roll out soon. It's a very significant commitment from the EU. It's a really significant sign they're right behind us. Our friends at Atlas Assets are very keen to travel with me to Madagascar over time. They want to work with us very closely in securing material, because obviously they'd like to see a very large share of that material out of Mannery also go to the US. So we've got two big brothers and sisters, if you like, that are right behind us, supporting us in development.
Look, I sense from the volume of participation in this webinar today and the volume of inquiries I've been receiving, there's a real sort of positivity or momentum starting to build behind Evion. You've got some key friends in the EU. You've now got some key friends in America. Do you get the sense that that the world, it seems, is looking at you as the graphite company of choice? Is that your sense?
Yeah, we like to think so, and I do think so, Gareth. We've, I guess, two of the big reasons why we're getting a fair bit of attention and love at the moment, if you like, which is wonderful, and I like to think overdue. We've been working really hard for a number of years. Is that we've demonstrated capacity to build an operation in India. We've demonstrated capacity, and I've had 3 or 4 partners visit that operation this year and have all walked away saying it is the best expandable graphite automated project globally by a long shot. So we're excited about that. It's because it's an automated system, it allows us to take all of the plant and equipment we know where to secure it from and put it anywhere in the world. And as I've mentioned before, plans are in place. We really would love to have something based in the US. Apart from the capacity that we've demonstrated our ability to build something, we've got Mannery, which we've worked for many years on building a DFS and a resource to demonstrate the quality of the resource. So the EU recognised us in a very rigid assessment of our project and its parameters as one of the best in the world. I've got their feedback. It talks about the highest quality DFS they've seen in some time. They've done a lot of testing there. In fact, we've got people from Germany on site in the next week looking at the resource and other things about how we can expand the resource. So look, these are things that augur well for the base of growing a really strong business.
Well, that's a great note to finish on, David. Thank you very much for your time this morning. I'm sure investors and prospective investors, shareholders appreciate your time. That brings to a conclusion the webinar. The webinar recording will be made available on Evion's website as well as the YouTube channel, and specific questions that we didn't get to today will be answered via email directly. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Gareth.